Wagwan people, got some oddly dramatic music for you today. Just whacked on a random playlist, but yeah, I wanted to make a video because it's been a while. Bare people were in my ear like, oh, nobody wants to see a fucking VR video. They're so boring. I don't give a fuck. I wanted to do it, and yeah. So kind of get into it. Latios is Latios, innit? Like, what do I need to say? Like, for those who ain't like playing the tier actively right now, Colber's probably the most likely set you'll see. Like Draco, Surf, Fire, Roost, Recover. Roost looks cooler, so you go Roost. If you go Recover, like, you're probably a weirdo. Specs is good. It's a luxury you can't afford sometimes. Scarf is nice as well into like rain matchup, offense, that kind of thing. You get trick utility versus fat, which is what Specs does as well. But I'm not a big Scarf Latios believer, but it's alright. Especially with like Life Orbs Am everywhere all the time. So yeah, Latios is number one. People, someone like Peng would probably do this, but yeah, not me. And then yeah, Tito checks the best mon in the tier. Not really much else to say. Scarf is probably his best set, but you can like never run it because then you just like lose to Focus Blossom. Unless you have like other checks, like Fat might run Scarf sometimes, but majority of the time it's gonna be Chopple. And people do cast step as well, but you know, it's not that common unless you're like Monai or something. He actually used it in SPL against Dice last week, so that was cool. So yeah, these are the obvious two. If you see like a tier list made by a black and white player, these two are in S, and then S minus is where it kind of gets a little bit, open for debate. Like some people might put like Excadrill here, some people might put Lando here, but for me, I think Pharaoh's just solid number three. It's a steel type in a tier with no fairies. First of all, it's a water resist. It gets spikes. It gets stealth rock. Gyro ball, power whips, like amazing coverage. You don't need gyro all the time, but I think it's one of the best move it gets. Uh, Most of the time, so like lefties is still really good and is probably the best set if you can afford to run it. Say like, if you have a status absorb or something like that. But for the most part, I'd say especially if you're rain as well, you're probably running Lumberry on it. Because when it gets burned, it's kind of turbo dog shit. But yeah, Spiker still type water resist. It does everything. You can do like offensive ones as well. Like I don't know what the exact spread will be, but like to Oko Roam and stuff like that. Like Absorber Wisp, Power Whip it. Uh, yeah, and that's probably the two main items like lefties and lung. Some people use Roast. Like I used to use Roast a lot, but when you're switching into Starmie Ice Beam so much, if you get frozen, it's kind of like, you know, did I just greed it? And then if you get T-Wave, like at least Gyro does more damage, so it's not awful. Uh, you got Lando at fourth. I'm explaining what every mon does in a nutshell, innit? Because like not everyone who watches this is going to be experienced black and white. You're probably going to have Finchinator commenting, oh, thanks for your life story, whatever. But yeah, no, that's good. So yeah, Lando most of the time is going to be lefties, Stealth Rock, U-turn. Oh, not there. HPIS, that kind of thing. It's a good scarfer as well if you're playing someone who like spams Alakazam or something like that. I know before I started playing the tier, most of the time it was Scarf. But yeah, lefty's the majority of what you're seeing now. Like defensive sets. It can do other stuff as well outside of Scarf and lefties. Like you could do double dance, but it's like really, really rare. Like swords dance, rock polish. You could do gravity, like sub gravity. Shoker had a good one with that as well. But yeah, you could do like max speed F as well. I only really seen mono using it. I'm not like a huge believer in it, but it's good. Uh, then you got Excadrill. So this one's pretty fucking cracked. Like I know people around the time like maybe last SPL, people were talking about suspecting it or like trying to complex ban Samforce because it might be too much. I think it's kind of a necessary one for the tier, but if you got rid of Samforce, Moldbreak is still good as well. So it's like whatever. Uh, you know, Multiple sets it can use. Most popular at the moment is probably Choice Scarf, Adamant, Samforce. Does like ridiculous damage. I'll do like 45 to defensive lander and stuff like that, so it can't really come in too much. Obviously it's a steel type, it's an electric resist, it's got spin. Lefties is still pretty popular. SD. Protect used to be used more, but most of the time I played, it's mainly been SD. So yeah, this is one of the best mons in the tier. Sand's the best style. This is the best spinner that Sand has to offer. It can do other stuff, like people use like weird sash lead with like stealth rock or toxic. It's got a place on fatter teams as well, but the majority of the time you see this, it's probably going to be scarf or spin lefties as well. On teams that might normally use scarf latios, they might put cobra on latios instead and then go like scarf drill. So it kind of ties it up that way, but then you find yourself with like a weaker matchup into like Skarmory, Rotom in some cases, but you know, you have other stuff that deals with it. So it's like, it's give and take. People use it on Rain. I don't know about it on Rain. It's alright. It's not like the worst thing in the world, but I think if you want to scarf steel on Rain, you probably go like Jirachi or Sizzle, something like that. Um, Obviously we get the Keldeo, so going into A plus, that's the top five there. For me, that top five is cemented. I don't really think anything else creeps in. I don't really think anything else goes out. So yeah, Keldeo's got two crazy stabs. It's like the reason why every team has two water resists. You're not really going to find much in the tier that resists both Scald and Secret Sword. So it can do a million sets as well. It can do Specs on Rain, can do Scarf on Rain, can do Specs on Sand as well, which is, you know, less common. On Sand you might see like Sub, you can see Taunt, you can see Sub CM, you can see free attacks. Like, it just does too many things. It does too many things. You know, some people might even do like Sub Protect Toxic and shit like that for better matchups into Jelly. It's just like insanely versatile. The speed tier is crazy, and you know, you look at a lot of the mons that are in the top five, and Keldeo's stab is hitting four of them super effectively, and Latios don't even like switching into it, especially if it's choiced, because it might be picking up a burn off Scald, it might be getting hit by like HP Ghost or something like that. And like in conjunction with Tito, like these Keldeo Sand teams, Latios is just not enough to check it. So Keldeo is really strong, I think. I think it's at the top of A plus. It is debatable. People put other stuff there. Some people aren't as high on Keldeo. Like, you know, some of the best black and white players, like Fakes, would even put Starmie above Keldeo, for example. So, man, this music's getting mad intense. Let me switch this up real quick. Fucking hell. Oh, Grove, oh my god. This emotional moment, bro. Had like 9-year-old me crying like a bitch. They got Alakazam, so Zam is still like really strong. In my opinion, it's like an SV mon. Like, you know, 372 speed, crazy special attack, crazy stabs. I find it crazy Reuniclus got suspected and this didn't. This, to me, is probably one of the most restricting mons in the tier. Like, you know, it can invalidate fat with some of its sets. It gets access to, you know, grass knot, for example. So the main trend at the minute is, you know, most of the time, like a couple years ago, people were using Focus Sash Sand majority of the time. It's still good, but once people started using Life Orb, I feel like that's when it really got crazy. So, you know, if T-Tar's in on you, you don't have to hit two Focus Blasts. You can catch it on the switch with a Lorb Grass Knot and then it's dying to the next one. Psyshock's doing half to Clef with Life Orb. HP Fire is doing like 88% to Ferrothorn. Like, if you've got pivots and you can get this thing in consistently, you know, it might be paired with Latios or something, which will break the T-Tar for you. And then Zam is like completely going ham on the rest of the team. Like, this mon is fucking cracked. I don't think it should be banned, but I feel like Suspect would have been healthy at some point. It's just insanely strong. It's crazy. Like, with spikes, it's just securing kills 24/7. You know, if you want to get it, you can't check it defensively. If you want to get rid of it, you have to check it offensively. Like, something has to die, T-Tar has to come in, pursue it, T-wave it, or something. It's just a crazy good mon. And obviously, like, That's not even talking about the ability like Magic Guard, because it can come in on toxics. It don't give a fuck about spikes. It don't give a fuck about sand. It's just fucking ridiculous, man. Um, so I've got Starmie quite high. Um, the reason behind that is like people might put Garchomp or D Knight higher, but if you're using a HO team, this is quite a necessary mon, right? So I don't really think like it's the same way I've got Toad above Fundy, for example. Like you can't really justify putting these mons higher if like a backbone or an integral part of the team is here. Like the team, it's hard to function without it. And it's kind of a water resist for HO teams as well. But the main set you're going to be seeing is Analytic, Hydro Pump, T-Bolt or Thunder. If it's on rain, it's likely to be Thunder. If it's weatherless, some people still greet Thunder, but it's like missing moves kind of sucks. So I like T-Bolt. And then obviously it's one of the most consistent spinners in the tier because of its speed tier. So like, Scarm Jelly teams, they'll be using like Scarf Tito or Sam to like one shot this thing because it's so fast. Like that's an essential requirement. Um, there's other sets. So say like if it finds itself on hail, it might be more prone to using HP fire as well. Um, and then you got the other ones, like the ones that I think are kind of shit, like bulky, recover on sand. Like it gives you a war resist, somewhat of a memo check, but it can do all kinds of things. It's really variable with what it can do. Like you see people use like reflect type and shit like that to get like a reliable spin versus Ferrothorn or not like die to T-Tar trap in it and stuff like that. Natural Cure's still a decent ability. It gets access to Scald. It gets a lot of coverage. Sell out on rain, for example. You can use Psychic if you want to be a little bit better into Rotom coming on you. Like it's got a lot of options. Like there's niche stuff that people don't do that could have merit because it gets access to Trick. So even like Specs Trick, Scarf Trick, it's got a lot of cool stuff it can do. It can do Colbar, it can do Life Orb. It's just a really cool mon. Speed is nice, typing's nice, rapid spin's good. It does a lot. Garchomp's here. Garchomp's one of the best mons in the tier. It dies at the start of a lot of games, but it's like insane. The pressure that it puts up from turn one, the item variants, with lead, it could be Yachi, it could be Focus Sash, it could be Lama and like SD on lead Rotom and then start killing stuff. It gets rocks up really easily. It's an okay Scarfer. If it was a Scarfer, it'd probably be like, I don't know, B plus, something like that. I don't think it's great, but it does that job well if like your team needs a makeshift folk check. It can do mixed, so it might do like Stealth Rock, HPIS, Fire Blast Draco, but yeah, it's just a strong mon in general, and a lot of the most consistent HO teams have that as well. So yeah, it's just really good mon. Ground type, speed tier is good, outspeeds a lot of important stuff, Outspeeds Fundy, outspeeds Lander, outspeeds On Choice Drill, threatens Ferrothorn quite highly. It's got a lot going for it. It's a cool one. Quick sip of water. Water. British. D-Knight, I've got it quite high. I've got it above Toad. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe Toad's higher. Toad might be higher. Fuck it, I'll leave it there. I'm not going to change what I'm talking about, but yeah. Multi-scale's broken. Dragon Dance goes crazy. Outrage does insane damage. It's basically a water resist as well. Don't take spikes damage. Best item for me is probably Lum. A lot of people like leftovers for like, sand matchup. Lum's just good. I know Tentacruel isn't used as much, but it turns it into setup foddering instead of having to worry about like getting toxic or scald burned and stuff like that. Snaps you out of outrage, lets you change coverage. Gets Ice Punch. Ice Punch weren't that popular. Fakes pioneered it a bit because Landorus is a common switching, so if you've got Ice Punch, you're just taking it out of the game. The coverage varies, but it can do a lot of cool stuff. You can even do like Superpower. On rain, you can do like Waterfall, but that's more like CB set. E-Speed is like a massive one. That shit's fucking crazy. Gets Earthquake, just really strong. And then you got other like more niche sets. So like I mentioned CB on rain. That's like if you see a D-Knight on rain, it might be CB. It's quite a high likelihood it can kill something turn one. It's a bit prediction reliant, but it's pretty strong. Then there's other stuff like there's a really dishonest set, you know, if like sub DD roost, like that shit can be really fucking tough to deal with. It's not really used as much as it could be. I suppose it needs a lot of support, but it's still pretty good as well. And then other stuff, probably way too niche, but like you might see the odd person use like, I don't know, Hurricane on Rain or Thunder or Ice Beam or some bullshit. Like, it's got a cool move pool, does a lot, but yeah. You got Toad. Toad sets Rain, right? It's kind of a mediocre one, but you know, Fizz Death, it can check stuff like Sizzle, it can check Landorus, these kind of things. Hydro Pump does a lot into fat stuff, gets access to like Focus Blast. Encore's really good, obviously one of the main ways that Rain deals with Reuniclus, Toxic, stuff like that is cool. People do like Chesto Rest, I don't think it's that good. Scarf is like okay. I used it in SPL, I didn't really want to, I got talked out of Scarf Keldeo, I wish I brought that instead, but hey ho. Yeah, it's just a mediocre one. It kind of just does what the team needs it to do. If you ain't got a Scarf, you can sling it on. If you want a better matchup into fat and use like a Scarf Keldeo, then you might go Specs Toad. It's a cool one. It's not like the worst thing in the world. It's decent. Like it's not like fucking where's Ninetales? Yeah, it's not fucking Ninetales. Like it actually does stuff. Thunderous below, obviously, kind of Thunderous above Toad. This one's ridiculous. I know people want it suspected and that kind of thing. I don't know if it's bannable. I think it's kind of healthy to have around. It's good outside of rain, but it does really need uncontested rain to like truly excel. It's it's got set variants as well. A lot of the ones that you see that are high up, they've got set variants that they can do a few things. So this is one of them. It's an electric immune. It's got, you know, it's flyer, so it don't take spikes, it don't take ground moves. It's got, I think it's like 145 attack, especially, or something like that. Like, it's crazy. It gets agility, it gets nasty plot, Focus Blast is powerful as fuck, Thunder is powerful as fuck. It gets other access to weird moves like Grass Knot and stuff like that. If Gastro was used more, you might see that, but yeah, it's fast. I know people are using Modest a lot more at the minute, but I still think Timid is the way to go. Just naturally having a Lando outspeed is nice. In the past, I probably would have put this higher. Like, people say Rain's bad right now. I don't think Rain's bad, but other styles do seem a little bit more consistent. But I still think Rain's good. Fundy's probably the main reason for that. I don't want to be one of those people who's like, you know, Rain is unviable if Fundy's not around, but it would definitely fuck it up quite a bit because it's kind of like clinging to being relevant at the minute. Maybe that's too harsh, but people are low on it at the minute. Scum is like a weird placement. It could be in the middle of A. I think A plus is fine. Being a steel type's always going to make you a little bit higher. It gets reliable recovery in Roost. It spikes. It gets rocks. You know, you might see it solo still on like maybe a fat sort of team like Hippo Clef stuff, and then it'll go Spadef, or then different variants of Hippo Clef, which are more like Reuniclus, Bronzong kind of thing, will be Fizz Death. And then you've also got the Suicide Lead, which is, you know, pretty decent. Those teams are always kind of flawed, but you know, being able to get up a rock and a spike and like suicide yourself onto a spinner and then trap it, it's always going to have merit. The mon's just good. It's got item variants as well. You know, on the lead ones, it can use Custap, it can use Salak. The more, you know, standard defensive Roost Spike kind of bullshit ones. Rocky Helmet's good, punishing all the Scarf Excadrills at the moment. It can still use lefties. You could be a dickhead, you can use Shed Shell if your ops like some Magnazone, dishonest spammer. Yeah, it's a cool one. Does a lot. You know what, I just realised I'm definitely not doing the entire title list. Fuck that, like, who the fuck wants to hear me chatting about Zartu? Who the fuck even wants to hear me talking about these ones? I'm just yapping because, like, I'm bored. Next to be Rotom, so most standard set be Bold, you know, physically defensive, Volt Switch, Wisp, all that shit. It's a good mon. It's, you know, quite a glue mon for Sand. Gives you a lot of momentum with Volt Switch. It's good into Rain, good into HO. It's good into opposing sand. It's just a solid mon all around. You know, the more niche stuff you might see like rest. If your team don't have a status absorb and you want to get more longevity from a rotom, because rotom's one of the mons where it might just like lose its value early game, switching into Landorus a lot, absorbing scalds, absorbing rocks, absorbing sand. So rest gives you a little bit more longevity. Scarf is a good one as well, like Scarf Modest. It hits really fucking hard. Makes your matchup into fat a little bit easier if you're opting for something like a Sash Sam or something. Like majority of the time, something like Clefable will come in on Rotom and tricking that like just gives you a really big head start on matches. Yeah, Cormon don't take spikes either, which is, you know, common trait we're seeing too. So you got Jirachi. I'm probably gonna get roasted as fuck because I've got this here. Like in reality, if you were to like go off usage, it'd probably be like it might even be above Keldeo if you're basing it off usage. To be honest, insane set variance again. Items you're probably looking at Choice Scarf Lefties. I used E button in SPL, but like that's not caught on yet. The world isn't in the loop. Ah, this song's too sad. This song's crazy. So fastest, not fastest, best, and I guess fastest set would probably be Scarf. So a lot of Scarfers, for example, they don't have utility, right? Like Garchomp, for example, it will just hit things. Excadrill just hits things. It's got utility in spin, but you know, whatever. Out of all the other Scarfers, this by far has the most utility. It's got powerful moves. It keeps momentum with U-turn. It's got access to Trick. It's got Healing Wish, obviously. See it in conjunction with Conkeldurr a lot at the moment, who's, you know, probably pretty high compared to where he's been in the past on tier lists. It's just a solid mon. You could do Stealth Rocks on bulkier teams. You could do Body Slam Wish. You could do Mixed. It's got a lot going for it. The typing's unbelievable. Got all the bulk it needs. You can EV it for like, you know, anything you want. It's just a cool one. It probably should be higher because the way it glues together like HO teams, that, you know, it can fit on Scum Jelly, it can fit on Rain if you're doing that. You can use it as like a scissor alternative. You can also do bullshit stuff like sub CM or whatever, but it just does so much stuff. It's cool. Should be higher maybe, but it's there, so fuck it. Gliscor's good. You know, same typing as Lando, doesn't have the Intimidate. Toxic Orb, healing is just insane too. Really reliable rocker. It checks some strong mons in the tier, you know, like Terrakion, Excadrill. Ferrotin Extend, if you're like SD or whatever, can go 1v1 with Scum. Sometimes if you're SD, you can like Ice Fang it and things like that as well. It gets knockoff, it gets U-turn, it's got stab EQ. Can do a lot with its speed tier, but most of the time it's kind of slow U-turn, that kind of thing. Yeah, just a really reliable one. I'm not like a massive user of it myself because I just prefer Lando or something else, but a lot of people swear by it. Some people would put it like, you know, mid A tier or something like that, but it's a good one. Like, it's got merit, it does a lot of things. So I've got Sizzle here. Scarf is probably the most popular at the moment. Like, if we're talking about Rain and things like that, like the ability to just constantly U-turn on psychic types which give Rain a hard time and then get Keldeo in. Laios has to come in, absorb like Scald or whatever. You go Ferrothorn, whatever. You might get Sizzle back in, start U-turning again. Keldeo's getting free moves. It provides a lot, and obviously it gets Pursuit, gets priority. It's Coolmon. HO, you might get like SD Bullet Punch off a Technician if your Life Orb is just dropping stuff. It gets all sort of stuff. Quick Attack is like insane as well. That's like great utility into Rain, you know, at +2 hitting Thunderous Keldeo. You can hit Rotom if you're like the more slower bulky ones where you won't outspeed and like superpower it. It's got a lot going for it. Some people not as much. When I say some people, like mainly Finch is the one I've seen using it. We'll use like Roost Super Bullet Punch. Like it gives you better matchups into like some kind of fat stuff as well. So it's cool. It sticks around. It's hard to get rid of when it's got that stuff. Yeah. Then you got Terrakion, the main set, like 90% of the time, what you're going to be seeing is CB. It's not a fancy mon. It can work as a Volk check, obviously, in Sand, because it's got that rock type and it's got decent bulk. It just hits things really fucking hard. It's not, it's kind of self-explanatory. Um, it gets other stuff, like it can do sub, it can do SD, it can do rock polish, life orbs getting a bit more usage. It's got niche options like HPIS. It's got quick attack, obviously, shores you up a little bit more into ZAM teams and things of that nature. Just a solid mon, check stuff, hits hard, does what it does. I got Mamo here. People aren't so high on Mamo. I don't know, I think it's really good. Stab Ice is crazy in a tier where like all the best mons are, Latios, Garchomp, Lando, D-Knight, Thunderous. Priority's never a bad thing. It hits hard as fuck with Earthquake, it gets superpower. Whether that's banned or Never Melt Ice, I think Never Melt Ice is a little bit more popular. Also gets access to stuff like Stealth Rock. You could do cheesier sets for like Sub and things like that. And it's a nice resist, It's got thick fat, so it's pretty cool, pretty good. Alright, if you're not... This one's probably going to get me some hate, I don't know. If you're not a black and white player, you see a lot of people talking about the tier who don't play it. They're like, oh my god, Reuniclus is so fucking broken. Ban this shit. In the meta at the moment, it's not that good. It's like, things are hostile into it. It's still a good mon in a vacuum, but when you got Life Orb Zam running around, Scarf X Guard, like, there's all sorts, Toad's running on core. There's just so much stuff that hits hard. You got more Conkelda. I don't know if that's a consideration in why people are using Reuniclus less, but there's things like bulking up, using payback, doing fucking insane amounts of damage with it. Bulks around. It's just, I don't even know if the meta's changed that much, and that's why Reuniclus is not getting used. It's just things just feel fast paced. Things feel hostile for it. It requires a lot of support to be on a team, and the things that support it, like Clefable and other T-wave spreaders, maybe that's more the case. Like the things that support Reuniclus are probably less favourable in the meta at the moment, and that's why it's seeing a decline, because it requires specific support, right? Obviously what it does, Magic Guard, CM, Psyshock, because if you get in the mirror you're going to want Psyshock. It could do Thunder for the rain matchup, it could do Focus Blast if it wants to hit a lot of things in the tier insanely hard. Some people do Bolt Beam, so you might do like Thunder, HPIS. Signal Beam was catching on somewhat, but yeah, it is what it is. Other stuff it can do, Trick Room's cool, like Life Orb, offensive Trick Room, coverage of your choice, just really good into like offense and things like that. It's a nice win condition to have in the back. People play around it, and then it reveals Trick Room, and it starts going hard. Yeah, I don't know. Reuniclus, maybe it could use its own video if I can be bothered, but as you can tell by the fact I've not uploaded in months, then it's probably not really a priority. I won't get around to it. I think I'll do to B+, because I can't really be fucked, and then if there's anything that's like, whatever, I'll pick it out. I need a piss, and I'm not BKC, I'm not gonna fucking leave you lot hanging with a toilet break. Latias, A-, it's got the same defensive profile as Latios. Little bit more on the Spadef side of things, so in my opinion, if you're gonna use like the Hippoclef Reune Bronzong shit, I think Latias is just better. Keldeo could be too annoying for that squad, so having the extra Spadef is nice. Colbert, T-Wave, Draco, Surf, Roost, that's kind of all you really need. It's picking up a bit on HO, just due to the fact that it gets Healing Wish, which is a pretty big thing. You can put specs on it, you can trick, better match up with the fat. If you want to do anything offensively, you probably want to use Latios, but you know, Latias does have cases where it does have an edge on its brother. Like, I think the Spadef and the access to healing wish puts it A minus for me. Like, you see it used, like, everything that's used in healing wish, you're seeing it with, like, Conkelda Volk a lot, those kind of ones. So, you know, it's got a place as long as people are using, like, these kind of HO teams, which are, you know, trading 1 month for two and then bringing it back to life and then seeing the game out with it. I think Latias is always going to be pretty strong. So, yeah, that's why it's there. Quick vape. Jelly's jelly, you know what it does. It's a Keldeo check, so that's always going to have merit. It's immune to water. Water gets blown, so you know it's not taking spikes for the first time. Exco can't just EQ when you're trying to block spin, so that's relevant, of course. I feel like I'll put it here just because I have to put it here. Like, I don't actually think the mon is that good. I just think if you're going to spin block in this tier, this is the one to do it with. You know, Nightshade's reliable damage. It gets taunt, so into like fatter stuff, it's quite nice. Some people use Scald. Not really a fan of it. Obviously access to recover, that kind of thing. It's just okay at what it does. If your ops making reads, then things can get a bit dicey with jelly teams, but you know, it's got a purpose. It's a good one in the tier. It's decent. Volcarona, I've got it here. I think this one should be banned. Like, I'm not gonna go on a rant, but it's got like, oh, it's got insane item variance. It's can use multiple different moves to overcome basically any check what's in front of it. Like, if you get the item wrong, you might just lose. Like, if you go hard T-Tar and it's Life Orb and they've got rocks up, like, you know, you're dying to Bug Buzz. If you want to check it with D-Knight, it might be HP Ice. If you want to check it with Heat Train, it's got HP Ground. It just does too much. It's too strong. You know, it's hard to revenge kill. You might revenge kill it with something physical and then bang, you get fucking flame body bullshitted. Probably the trendiest set that's being used at the moment is Life Orb, but Lum's still good. Pasho, just, you know, fucking C teams rain. Like, someone might try check you with a Scarf Keldeo under rain, they click Hydro Pump, you eat your Pasho, you fucking Giga Drain and bang, you're back to full and you've won the game. It's just, even though it's 4 times weak to rocks, it's still just fucking stupid. Oh no. People say it's a skill issue. I don't know. I can play around Volk. Like, I can play around Volk. Multiple people can play around Volk. People just don't like the variance. When a mon's got like so many good sets, so much item variance, so much coverage, it just doesn't feel healthy. It's probably as well like the most restricting thing in the builder by a mile. I said Zam was, but like, I don't know. This is just a stupid one. Like, you can actually pack checks for it, and if it's got the right fucking lottery ticket, it'll break through it. Oh no, ran over. That's fuck that one. Hippo's a nice sand setter. Sand is broken. It's one of the most broken things in the tier. It's a reliable stealth rocker. It's a ground type. It's got insane bulk. The base attack's pretty high as well. Reliable recovery. You know, it gets whirlwind. Phasing things out is nice. You know, if you're like fat and you're playing against Reuniclus or you're playing against Dragonite, you want to get chip on things, that's good. You can pack Rock Slide as well to tackle Volk. It's, you know, it's just pretty solid. I think A minus is about where it should be. Yeah, not too much to say about Hippo. It kind of does its job and it's decent at it, right? So yeah, Tentacruel bottom of A minus. I still think it's good. People are really low on it. I think it's better than it was when Reuniclus was everywhere, just because, you know, there's less Reuniclus to just like capitalize and get free entry off it. It's a Keldeo check. You can't really go wrong having a Keldeo check. It's one of the best ones in the tier. Sub is pretty cool when it's under rain. It's getting 12% healing per turn. It can spam Scald. Scald's broken, gets burns. It's got access to T-Spikes. They don't use it a whole lot, but in some matchups it's pretty strong. It's a spinner. It's faster than Landorus. It's faster than Unchoiced Excadrill. Eh, solid mon, does what it says on the tin. Okay, now we're getting into the dark area, so B plus. I think all these mons in B plus are actually really cool. I like all of them a lot. I just don't think they're better than these. So I got a Mong over Celebi. Maybe controversial. I don't know. Resist both Keldeo stabs. It will get burned eventually, but this thing can paralyze ground types. Your op's got to play like very specifically around it. Most of the sequence will be like them going to their T-Tar and trading with the Among Us, that kind of thing. It's good into Rotom, it's good into Keldeo. It's another thing, it's a grass resist that you can fit on like ground spam or Terrakion teams that isn't weak to U-turn. So I think that's one of the main advantages it's got over Celebi, that and the fact it can paralyze ground types. Most of the time it's going to be Spadef, Black Sludge. A lot of people use E-Barton as well. It's a good way of getting momentum. For example, the common one that occurs would be, I don't know, you've got your Terrakion in, or you've got your Landorus in, whatever. There's a Latios in, it clicks Draco or Surf, whatever, bang, you go to Among Us E-Buttons out, T-Tar's in, you've trapped that. That's one less thing to check your Lando and your Terrakion. So yeah, cool mon, does things. It's not like the best mon in the world, but I think at the moment it's good. I think it's better than Celebi. Celebi at the moment, like when I was using it, my most favourite sets was like sub Battle Pass. Like it's still decent. You can use these things, but it's slower than Landorus. Lando's always going to come in on it when it knows what set it is. If it knows it's faster than it, it's always threatening U-turn. If you're hard BPing on Landorus, you're not going to go to your Terrakion or whatever. If it's coming, say like if you're behind a sub and you're -1 and it's U-turned on you, you're at -1. Something's coming that Terrakion looks good into. You're not batting pass into it because you're passing minus attack, so that's not good. It's outsped and hit by U-turns. People using a lot of Jirachi, that gets U-turns, 4 times effective, do the math. Into Spikes teams, you can get broken by Keldeo if they're like HP ghosting you as it comes in and things like that. I don't know. I don't feel like it suits the pacing of what's going on at the moment. The most viable sets at the moment are probably Nasty Plot, but those are still flawed in some way because you've got Grass Stab and then you've got Coverage and the rest is Nasty Plot and Recover. So you're gonna miss out on hitting things. So like, if you're like fuck knows Giga Drain Ice, then Pharaoh can just contest you to a point. It can force you to recover and then they might go to something that can force Celebi out. So I don't know. It's a cool mon. It's still a Keldeo check. It can check Zam to an extent based on sets. You can also do stuff like T-Wave. It checks Breloom, so does Among Us. That's big things that they both do. I don't know. I wish it was better. I think it's kind of mid at the moment. I've got Breloom here because Breloom's just fucking goated. I think the Poison Hill sets are mid. But like Technician, it can do a lot. Choice Band low sweep, like Latios will come in on it a lot. You can always CB low sweep that. If you've got rocks up, it's 2 hitting. You can do SD, Life Orb, Fist Plate, Lumberry, Yachi Berry, all sorts of shit. It's got like insanely strong priority in Mac Punch. Technician Bullet Seed can hit a lot of times. It's just a cool mon. I think it's good. It's probably a little bit lower just because it's, there's not like a huge amount of teams that you can put it on. Obviously, Smurf is still a great team. Breloom's really strong on that and similar stuff. Conk, this mon is like, it's everywhere at the moment. It's being used in SPL a lot. It's just really strong. So if you're playing someone and they spam like Sand Balance, Fat, Stall, these kind of things. Once it starts bulking up, it's really hard to stop. Like people, I don't know if it's people don't know how to play against it yet, or like people panic as soon as it starts bulking up. But not a lot kills it because people aren't investing in attack, like, and you don't need to invest in speed. It's max HP, max Spadef, it's living Draco Meteors and it's killing with payback. It's coming back in off a healing wish and it's, 1v1 in the rest of the team. It could pack Ice Punch for Landorus, it can sit in Landorus' face, spam bulk up and click Drain Punch. Like, it's a crazy mon and it gets priority. So, you know, some of the things that you might be able to revenge kill it with, you suddenly can't. Like, you get to 40%, you think, oh, let me fucking Iron Head it with Excadrill, but it might get a Mac Punch off. So, yeah, it's interesting. I'll be keen to see where it will be on the VR next year. I don't know, like, I, I don't want to say it's a flash in the pan because I think it's good and I use it quite a bit myself. So, I'm interested to see if, like, there's like any text that like limit it. It's got bad matchups, of course. Like if you're using a Quank team, you're probably kind of bad into rain or something like that. So yeah, interesting to keep an eye on it. Kieran's here. Kieran's just like fucking insane sometimes. Like was talking about it earlier. Some people were saying they ban it from the tier, like not just because it's good, just because it's like what is this fucking thing? Like some fake Ubers, you. Choice band, most popular set, like fucking 2 hits Ferrothorn. Like that's just absurd when you think about it. I'd say maybe it's probably the best Starmie abuser in the tier. Like this, if Rocks ain't up, you can always like hard into Starmie and then do something from there, depending on set. Scarf's good. That Scarf will get you a lot of mileage as well. I think sub's really strong as well. So like come in on Starmie, sub up, Ferrothorn might come in. You might be Power Herb and drop a freeze shock. Or you might just be Ice Beam and you can sit there and fish for a couple freezes. It does a lot of stuff. It is a water resist, it's kind of speedy. It's got good special attack as well. Things like that. So I think it's like 120 or something. So it's got things it can do. It's got good coverage. Gets like earth power and things like that as well. Funnily enough, not a lot of people know it gets screens as well. I don't know if it gets both screens, but it definitely gets one of them, like light screen or something. I don't know. Coolmon. If you don't need to go adamant, you can go 317, which puts you at quite a nice speed tier. You're going to outspeed most of like the Celebi speed creep in, the Volcaronas, Fundy most of the time. Quite a few other things. Landorus is an obvious one. Unscarfed, Excar, but it's a cool one. Does things. I like it. I think it might get used more this year. I hope it does because there's a lot of cool stuff. Then we got Heatran. Like on paper, this mon should be fucking busted, right? It's a steel type. It gets stealth rock. It's got insane special attack, but it just has to fucking hit moves, and that's just like, when your best move is like 75 accuracy, and hitting it can determine a game. It's like you feel really hesitant to use it. Like, the magma trap stuff, like whether that be like magma HP grass or magma sunny beam and shit like that. If you hit those, it's fucking amazing. If you don't hit those, then like your momentum's fucked. Like it leaves little room for error, and a lot of the error is not in the player's control. So I don't know, people are just off on using it. Obviously gets stealth rock, gets taunt, lava plumes like a fucking fire type schooled. It gets cool coverage. It's a cool mon. Like it's got merit to using it. Like it's good into HO and things like that. Bloom's probably the best set. If you can fit HP Ice on it, it's really fucking good into like Glisk or D-Knight, Garchomp, these kind of things. But yeah, it's just, you ask any black and white player, like it's just fucking inconsistent, right? Bro, what is this tune? I feel like I just fucking met the pearly gates or some shit, bro. Abomasnow, overglazed as fuck. I don't know where to start with this. Like, the mon itself is good. I like the teams where it replaces Magnezone because it's a mon that actually does stuff right. It's got ice priority, which is nice when a lot of the best things in the tier are weak to ice. Some of them 4 times weak. Wood Hammer's good. 100% accurate Blizzard's good, obviously. It gets Leech Seed. It gets other stuff. Some people have like done weird shit like Focus Punch, but I don't know. I think the weather as a whole might be just slightly overrated. Like people are like, yeah, it chips stills, but you know it's black and white. You're using stills yourself. Your own stills are getting chipped too. So I don't know. It's a weird one. I think it's got merit. I think it's usable, but I don't know. I really don't know what to think of this sometimes. Like sometimes I think, yeah, this thing's broken, but other times I'm like, I don't know. The speed tier lets it down. The base stats let it down. There's not a lot of things that it OCOs. It's weird. Like the main merit to using it is if you have a team that is dog shit in rain and dog shit in sand. But I don't think you're gonna have a team like that. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Um, yeah, it's a weird one. It splits opinions. I think maybe like 6 months ago, people were like, "Oh my god, this thing's fucking amazing. The meta game's changing." I think this is definitely like a flash in the pan. People will still use it. People like using hail. Hail's got application, but you don't like have hail abusers in the same way that you have sand abusers or rain abusers. So it's just kind of a way of like controlling the weather, which is fine, you know, that's good. Some teams will need an Obama Snow, some teams don't want to play in rain, some teams don't want to play in sand, but I don't know how many of those teams exist, and maybe Obama could just be something else in a lot of those cases. But yeah, is anything worth mentioning? Clef ain't really used as much. If you're going to see it, Spadef, T-Wave, Knock, Estos, some people use Ice Beam, I don't know. Ice Beam ain't got much PP and it stops you killing some stuff. Like, you know, there's stuff that you can reliably beat if you have Estos. Ice Beam can't do those things, but then again, if you're using a fat team like Hippoclef, Uni, Bronzor, and whatever, like Gliscor is a pain in the ass. But then you ask yourself, would I rather use like HP Ice on Bronzong, or would I put Skill Swap on it than use Ice Beam Clef? And you know, maybe that's true. No one cares about Blissey, people like whatever. Gastro's like whatever. Actually, wait, fuck this. Yeah, Seismitoad's better. Yeah, Seismitoad's definitely better. You can go. You can go here. Mm. 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 Yeah, that's better. Don't know what's going on there. Stealth Rock, somewhat of a Keldeo check. Probably not, but Swatter Immune gets rocks pretty reliably. Invalidates Rotom to an extent if you like refresh. This mon's bullshit. You know, whatever. Pair it with fat, it's good. Whatever. Gyarados is cool, but it's like mid as well. Torn is like really good on rain. If you're uncontested rain, this thing's broken, but majority of the time you're going to be playing in sand. So yeah, Slowbro's okay. I like Slowbro. Cormon. This mon is fucking broken. Like if the tier of black and white was just like constantly in sun, this would be like S minus probably. This thing's broke. Mid. Lucario's alright. Gets his speed. That's cool. Suicide Lead, like this. I think this is ordered, by the way. I made this like a week or two ago. I think it's ordered, but yeah, I think Hydreigon's mid is what it is. Slowking's mid. Kyurem's like whatever. Ninetales is dog shit. Victini's cool. I wish there was like ways to use Victini more, because it's just a cool mon. V-Create, Final Gambit, U-Turn, Trick, Wisp. It does a lot of cool stuff. I like Zapdos a lot, but it's sad that Zapdos isn't good in this tier, because it's just good in every other tier. I'm trying to make it well. I've been building some stuff with it recently, but a lot of the stuff you build with it, it's like, you know, Mamoswine just comes in for free on Zapdos every time, so you need to make a team that fishes, that doesn't fish Mamoswine. So then you end up with like Slowbro, and then it's like, okay, I don't have a Lando on this team, so I've got to use Hippo or something. And it's like, I can't trap Psychics. You know, Latios comes in and out. What do I do? Can I get momentum from that? Then you might end up with like fucking Blissey, and then all of a sudden you're like losing to fucking something crazy common like Keldeo or some shit. Like, I don't know. I wish it was better. Like Heatwave's cool, HP Ice is cool, Speed Tier's cool, Volt Switch cool, Roost obviously. It's got so much going for it. This just ain't a tier for it, and it's a shame. Mew is like, when my opponent uses it, it's good. When I use it, it's fucking mid. Ditto's like Mimi spin blocker. This thing's cool. This thing's cool. This is mid. This is mid. Spiker, but you know, you probably only need rocks if you're gonna. Whatever team this fits on, you probably only need rocks, kind of thing. God in rain, dog shit elsewhere. Come on. This, I've got Salamence. Is this too low? Pretty low. Here, I think. Like, Scarf Moxie's always going to have merit. It's just like, when do you use it? This thing is just like invalidated by like every other dragon in the tier. Moltres is like, whatever. Fuck you. Glad you are gone. But yeah, that's it. I've rambled a lot. I've kind of given like, you know, this is my view of black and white, at least for now. But this wasn't just to be like, you know, a good explanation of why I've got things where they are. You know, the hope is like people who aren't that familiar with black and white might just look at this and they'll get a brief overview on what all the mons do, where they fit, that kind of thing. Bro, what is this music? Some fucking Irish Duke. But yeah, that's it. Appreciate you for tuning in. Or if you hate watching, whatever, I love you the same. Catch you in a bit.